Okay. Well, hello, Africa, and welcome to the Africa Business Heroes Application Workshop, hosted by the SA Innovation Summit. My name is Tarisiro, and I will be your host this afternoon. Firstly, I'd like to apologize for the delay in starting this workshop. We had a bit of technical difficulties, but we are all sorted and good to go. This afternoon, we have an incredible lineup of speakers who are here to help you, the entrepreneur, position yourselves to respond to the African Business Heroes application forms effectively and concisely. Firstly, just so we get to know each other, please introduce yourselves in the chat. Tell us your name, tell us the name of your company and where you are joining us from. So I see here we've got Leon introducing himself. Hi, Leon. Welcome. Anybody else want to introduce themselves? I know it's not just Leon and I in the room, and Vincent and Aubrey. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We've got Neil Kinsley from Healthforce. Leon is joining us from South Africa. Michaela from South Africa. Anyone else up north or in the west or in the east? We've got Natalie from Zimbabwe, Aubrey from South Africa. Paul from Uganda. Welcome, everybody. And hopefully this workshop is going to be insightful for you and very helpful for you in learning more about your product, your market, and as well about the Africa Business Heroes competition. So I think we can go in there. And the question is, what is the Africa Business Heroes competition? So a bit of background. It was first established by Jack Ma, who's the founder of Alibaba, when he first visited Africa a few years ago, and was inspired by the entrepreneurial energy and potential here in Africa. And he dedicated to inspiring, supporting, and training African entrepreneurs. And we're here in 2021 undertaking this mission to strengthen the African entrepreneurial ecosystem by identifying the business heroes across Africa, which is you joining us from across the continent, training you and telling your stories. So next we have a short video that will give an overview of what this Africa's Business Heroes competition is all about.
Hi, my name is Jason Powell, and I am Executive Director for International at the Jack Ma Foundation and Project Lead for the Africa Netpreneur Prize. Today, it is my real pleasure to introduce the Africa Business Heroes documentary, co-produced by the Jack Ma Foundation, Alibaba Foundation, and Youku. The Africa Business Heroes documentary tells the stories of three young African entrepreneur journeys: Christelle from Rwanda, Omar from Egypt, and Mahmoud from Liberia, as they compete against a pool of 10,000 applicants in the 2019 Africa Netpreneur Prize and make their way to the grand finale in Accra, Ghana. The prize is a philanthropic initiative founded by Mr. Jack Ma to support African entrepreneurs for the next 10 years and to identify and highlight business heroes from across Africa. The documentary tells the real stories behind these amazing entrepreneurs' success and their path. It gives a glimpse of the passion and commitment among African entrepreneurs to change their community and continent for the better. I hope you find their struggle, persistence, sacrifice, and resilience refreshing and inspiring. They are as human as they are heroes. They are as diverse and rich as the African continent. Thank you.
When you mention Africa, people think about poverty, the war, Ebola, but it's not the whole story.
Nobody wanted to give them water. So why not do it? Why not do it for my people?
In Africa, we believe that no one is doing our business model, a central hub that works online.
You don't need to have millions of dollars. You just need to have the passion and the will to get it done.
Challenges are always there.
We were struggling to just survive.
They've never seen somebody like me be successful. I thought I was about to die. I've realized a big lesson that if you have a scar, it means you survived.
Regardless of what your dream is, you should make that dream come to reality.
I don't believe in luck, I believe in hard work.
We're so powerful. My generation is living in the best time for Africa. It's our chance to make change.
Exciting. So you guys are all our business heroes. It's time for you to make a change. I know many of you are making a change from whichever part of Africa you are from. I see we've got Nigeria, we've got Kenya, we've got Tanzania, we've got South Africa, we've got the UAE joining us. So it's really exciting. Welcome everyone. And I really hope that you are going to enjoy this workshop here today. So first up, one of our incredible speakers that we have today she is the co-founder and CEO of MoneyMart, and won first place for the People's Choice Award and placed third in the 2020 Africa Business Heroes Prize competition. And joining us this afternoon to share her own reflections of her ABH journey, I'm honored to introduce you to one of 2020's business heroes, Ethel Mupambwa.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, and welcome everyone to this. Hello. Okay, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining. And I'm excited. I'm excited for you guys who are looking forward to apply for the ABH. For me, it has been, you know what I tell people now? I tell everyone that, you know, destiny is not an accident. And for you to realize your destiny, it's actually also not by chance. You don't fall into things by chance, but by choice, the choices that you make. So I want to encourage everyone today that you better make the choice to participate in this application. And after you've made that choice, check yourself and see where you are going to end up in. For myself, I'm Ethel Mupambwa, founder and CEO of MoneyMart Finance. I bumped into the competition in 2020, being a COVID year, and to wake up the next day like, but it was actually a great year for a person like me, because that's the year then I got into this competition. I participated into it. It came with its own dedications and the passions that you have. For me, the Africa Business Heroes Challenge is for you guys out there to tell your story, to share with us the passions of your life, to tell us what you are doing out there, how are you helping your community. I think the video that you just saw now, these are inspiring business people, but who are doing what they are passionate about. For myself, I'm passionate about financial inclusion. Why? It is in the manner that I grew up in dark streets of Nembuzia Gokwe. And I'm determined to make a change in the rural streets of Zimbabwe, in the rural streets of Southern Africa, and the whole of Africa at large. And Africa Business Heroes is helping me even today to realize my dream, to fulfill the passions of my life. So I want to encourage you guys to participate in this journey. It is an exciting journey. You know, the coaching that you would get, the money is the big thing, yes, but the coaching, the mentorship, you know, meeting the judges, the insights that they will help you in your business, they open your eyes for you to realize even greater and bigger things, the things that you would not have really experienced. Even the connections that you do, the networking that you do with other colleagues in other African countries. You know, there's so much more. You know what? The success of our following day is just limited by knowledge. And knowledge is just limited by our networking. So Africa Business Hero gives you this platform for you to have a chance to network, for you to have a chance to meet other heroes in Africa, to meet other entrepreneurs who have made it, who have walked the journey, who have the results in their hands. These are not just stories, ladies and gentlemen. These are real businesses that are happening, that we are doing, that we are the business that we are doing, changing lives and creating wealth out there, making Africa a better place. And as the theme for this year is Africa Time. Oh yes, it is our time. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Ethel. I love that. Thank you. I think you've inspired us. Just your story alone, and there's so many stories like that. And even just within our audience, the stories are like that, just building something from nothing, and being that hero, changing our communities. And I know many, many of you are doing that. And I really hope that you will take advantage of this opportunity that the Africa Business Heroes competition has to offer, the network that you can have, and how you can grow yourself, grow your business, and meet some incredible, inspiring people within the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And the purpose of this whole competition is to grow that ecosystem and really celebrate and grow the business heroes within our continent. So thank you so much, Ethel. All the best with all your future endeavors. We will be watching you. We'll be watching Money Mart and watching you grow, and really, really excited to see where you go. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ethel. So next up, I will introduce the SA Innovation Summit Director of Entrepreneurial Ecosystems and Digital Innovation, Buntu Majaja, who will take us through the application process for the Africa Business Hero competition. And the purpose of this really is just to really understand what information are the evaluators looking for, the judging panel, what are they looking for? What information do you need to provide about your business, about your competitors, about your market, about your traction, and all different aspects about yourself as well as the founder, and about your business. So I will hand over to Buntu. Buntu, if you are there.
Hi, thanks so much, Tarisira, and welcome everybody. Absolutely excited to have you here, and really looking forward to talking about how you can position yourselves for the Africa Business Heroes competition. A very exciting competition, prestigious one as well. I think we will jump into, initially just to get a sense of who's in the room. I'd really like to understand and find out from you guys, what kind of stage of business are you? So we'll just launch the polls shortly, and if you can just please click on those two questions there, and then the last one is then, what is your favorite Afro music artist? I think we'll all be writing applications for some time, and if there's new music that you can suggest, whether that's Afro music or any kind of artist that you're listening to now, just for us to get to know each other a little bit more, please drop that in the chat. So we're going to just run the polls now. You'll see it coming up on your screens, and you can just pop in which ones for you really resonate according to your understanding there. And then the next one is also asking, how many languages are you guys speaking, traveled across Africa? Very interesting one there. And then the last one, just drop in the chat just for us to get a sense of what new music should we be listening to. And this time I see almost half of you have started the voting. I'm just going to let the rest of you jump in there, giving it a little bit more, 1 minute or so. It's wonderful. And so far, about 30% is pre-seed. We've got Angel and Series A as a combination, sitting at about 40%, mostly with Angel with 30%, then Angel Series A as 9%. Pre-seed and seed, that's majority so far, about 60% in combination. I see only about 70% of people have voted, so please feel free, just jump in there and answer that. Really appreciate it. Wonderful. Wow, 3 languages. Afro music, Dan Bond. Thanks, Danielle. Daniel, for that. Alternative indie for Phil. Sauti Soul. Haven't heard of that one. Very interesting. Most people are multilingual as well. Vincent, with 2 languages. Aubrey just says, listen to lo-fi while you're listening, while you're writing your application. Yeah, that lo-fi is great for that focus. And Aubrey speaks 8 languages as well. Cool. Aya, 3 languages. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, guys, for letting us know. Actually, this is one of the questions in the application, which is not necessarily going to be vote counting a lot for you or against you, but it's always great to understand these things and these kinds of data to inform the ecosystem that we're working with. So I think I'll bring now the poll to a close. Please feel free to drop in more. If you, I'm ending now the poll, but if you want to drop in more in the chat, please feel free to do that. And we can then get started about the application process itself. And I really just want to paint an overview here of what the steps will be once you've applied, because the application is now open. It's closing on the 7th of June. And essentially from today, you've actually got 44 days, which is not a lot considering the kind of rigor that this competition takes when it is looking through and judging and screening the applicants. So 44 days from now, we will close the applications, and that'll be on the 7th of June, and round 1 will then go through selection up until mid-July, and that will take the applicants essentially down from 20,000, between 20 and 25,000 is our target this year, and take that down to about 50, a top 50 that will then go for round 2 screening. And then the round 2 screening screens down to 20 finalists, which essentially then go through a due diligence as well. So that's through July, August, and there's boot camps that's happening during that time. There's also mentorship that's happening during that time, and preparation around how to present and pitch, and also get your narrative and your business to the next level, ready essentially for the finale. And the finale is chosen from that top 20 in September. The top 10 is then coming out of that finale, and then that goes to the grand finale in November with leading entrepreneurs across the continent, including Jack Ma himself, Mr. Jack Ma himself. And we look forward, of course, to most of you guys being there, but that's the overview process. And if we look at the application overview itself in terms of how it's set out, it's quite, it's quite strict in terms of the eligibility of your business to apply. And this is done as the first thing as you come into the application, where is screening around the founder, that's either African or descendants of Africa, of African, whether that's your parents or your grandparents, and whether your business operates in Africa. Majority of it, and the HQ is here, so that means most of your operations are here. Or do you have as well 3 years or more of robust revenue? And so it will ask you whether your business has started earning revenue before June 2018. So by the time that the applications close is when that's calculated, or that's counted for. And then it's very important as well to get a reference. So you can start thinking about whom are the people that you'd want to reach out to you, so that they can reference and motivate on your behalf as part of the application. This is one of the things that the judges look at the very upfront. But if you then meet the eligibility criteria, you have a reference and you meet all these requirements, that will then move on to the take the judge to look at the rest of your application, and that's broken down in a couple of areas. And really, what the application is trying to do is to paint a picture all the way from the founder, the beginning of the business, to how it's running now and where it's trying to go. And so the founder's profile is then looked into there so that we can understand your value systems and the alignment with the program, as well as the alignment across your social media, across your websites. You know, is it telling the same story? And then it will also be connected to any awards and recognitions you have. You know, it's always great to have any honors that's put against your name, but you know, the ABH competition isn't only looking for the sung heroes per se, but unsung heroes as well are welcome. So this is not necessarily going to count against you if there isn't anything you put in there. And then the rest of the application will go through the business profile at a higher level, just to understand the basics around the business profile, such as a slogan, your mission, where you're operating, the demographics, things like that. And then it will go into a deep dive around where the business is going and what the business is about. And so this is now really looking at your compelling problem and the statement, as well as how that's connected to your solution and the kind of market opportunity that you're looking at and the impact that you've had in the business. And then lastly, which will touch on all of these, but lastly then goes into your introductory video, whereby you will have you know, a short description through video of yourself as the founder or the co-founding team, and someone else from the team as well being interviewed. So sort of get a sense of what the team is like and where you're operating. And then also a reference, a video reference from a customer. And in that sense, you then will be able to finalize the competition, the application, and also you can go back and forth. So you don't have to complete it in one sitting. This is something that you can skip some of the required sections, but you won't be able to submit without having been put in those requirement sections. And you can go back and forth. In fact, that will be quite necessary for you to look at the application, go back and work with some of your team members on it. And so the areas that we're going to focus in today's application workshop are the ones that are, say, foundational to the narrative, and also the key questions in the application form that string together the narrative around your investment case and your business case, and how that connects with the values of the actual program. And so I do also want to remind you that we will be having a Q&A section towards the end. Some of those we will be addressing from the questions that you have brought in as you applied and registered for the application workshop, whereas some of them will ask you to either raise your hand and we recognize you, and then you can ask the question, or you can just type it in the chat and we'll go back to those. So we've got our colleagues at the back just watching them and collecting them so that we try and address as many of them as possible. But if we don't, those will also then be sent over to you with answers if we don't get to all of them in the session. So let's take a look at, just as an approach to the application process, you know, what should you be think about and how should you be doing this? Because I said we've got 44 days to go, but really you want to think of it like you're running your business, which is you know, try, iterate, repeat, learn, the lean and agile approach essentially, and you also want to collaborate. You know, you don't have to answer everything yourself. You can bring in specialists from within your team to look at certain areas and have that reviewed. So that circle there is really trying to say that you gotta work in the draft, and you save the answers that you can, and then you review over time, over that draft, try and get as far as you can. This is sort of what we think works well. And then you go into a peer review where you can share with your team, share with your mentor, and update and repeat. And really the things that you want to be looking at ingraining into your application is to ensure that the tone and the language, the positioning is consistent with the kind of content as well as the values that the Africa Business Heroes competition stands for. And these are things you can find on the website. There's content as well on YouTube that you can look at, as well as across the social media platforms. And we will be communicating with you as well, sharing some of these. So these are things that you want to share with your team. And then you want to make it personal. At the end of the day, it is, the organization is a group of people that are coming together to solve a problem. So it's important for us to understand who are those people and why are they doing this, what's driving them personally, and a very important one as well is let there be no doubt that the problem that you're solving is important, it's real, and it's urgent. This being a compelling reason as to why you are doing the application, as to why you're doing this problem. You don't see yourself doing anything else. So really providing strong evidence that your customers are valuing what you're doing and that they've got a real problem and that the customers are buying into the solution. And then lastly, I think really think about who in your network can work with you on this. It might be different sections of it, or it might be the entire process. There is a downloadable application form that you can share as well, and you can find this online. We'll also be sharing this with you after this program or after this workshop, and you can use that to work with your team and get further input. I spoke about aligning the values of Africa Business Heroes, and these are really embodied in some of these statements. You'll find them online, and as well as in that video you heard about resilience, the passion and impact, and being innovative. And as a program, this initiative is meant to be Pan-African. So if your view, your solution resonates with that, that's an important aspect to bring in. And also being inclusive, such as Ithel's proposition that she's passionate about financial inclusion, as well as serving your community. I think this is an important aspect that the Africa Business Heroes competition is trying to bring in, is that there's an aspect of being orientated to an extent to grassroots or serving the community and the problems that we have on the continent. At the end of the day, the best thing to do is to start now. I really can't stress this enough. 44 days is not as long as we think it is. And some of you have started, and we've gotten some of your questions via email. But really, the best thing that you can do is start as soon as you can, get an understanding and plan it out, because it does get quite involved. And the judges themselves, when they're doing the first line of screening, you need to help them to really get into your situation. So there's quite a lot of effort to go from communicating what you're doing and going into a space where you are, taking the reader through a journey and getting them to really build empathy and understanding in the kind of wording that you're using, which is also has to be concise, because the sentencing and the amount of words that you can use are quite limited. So that's an iterative thing that will take some time, And really, I think, and when I speak of that being concise, a thing that makes yourself an Africa Business Hero or previous applicants successful is that there's a consistency, which is where you're trying to get to when you're reiterating and iterating through it, is that there's a consistency that you want to play out across the different stages of the application as the founder, into the business, as well as into the impact and the kind of the kind of customer that you bring in and what your team says. And I think at the end of the day, you are the hero, and think of it as the hero's journey, or say a story whereby everything should fit into aligning the values of ABH and your story, whereby, you know, there's the problem, what you're trying to do, you're applying for this, or the problem, it's creating tension, and what as a business you're trying to do in your community. You know, this the reader, the judge, should not have any doubt and completely build empathy from reading about that. And then there's you yourself, the business, and your customer, who are the heroes of this story, going on this adventure to solve the problem, and then defining what success will look like into the future, which is then the market opportunity that you're looking at. So let's quickly jump into some of the sections that are important in telling that story, and some of the things that you can think about to ensure that you position your application and your best foot forward into it. And I'm looking here at the section of, you know, the founder's profile, and really looking, you know, from the founder's profile, it's more of a high level view of initial alignment about who you are. You're trying to build rapport here with the judge. You want to bring in your kind of tone and your style, and that will reflect your values personally. And so think of it as a Twitter version of your bio, for example. And that should always connect again to your values, why you're doing this, the kind of impact you're doing. So if you think of some of the questions that will come later, you try and pull those in. An example is that you're an adventurous person with a love of art. You live in music, and you love music, and you're an avid proponent of female education. So you're about inclusion in the education space, and you want to teach 25,000 young girls to code by 2025. So concise, clear, connects to your values, and still brings in sort of the kind of character for us to understand who is this. And then why do you believe that you should deserve to be a 2021 business hero? The typo there, but really you want to think about your key values that you embody, and how they align with the Africa Business Heroes competition. So some of those that I shared before. And then if you get to ask Jack Ma a question, think about, you know, if you are there sort of manifesting yourself, just like Ethel said, it's really destiny, and it starts from within. So if you imagine yourself there, what would you say at the grand finale? And if we continue along, you know, these lines, I think a key space where you start to build in your narrative as a founder is the question that's asking what motivated you to become an entrepreneur. And this question is then connecting to what's driving you. It's connecting to your values as well, and also connecting to the problem that you're trying to solve, and your customer. And you really want to try and bring this in a way that's going to highlight the urgency around this problem. It's going to highlight why you personally, you know, related to your demographics, where you're from, and your unique life experience, why you personally are solving this problem and feel compelled to solve this problem, and you're proving that you're capable of solving it. If you don't achieve things, or say line up some of these things, then your question might be, your answer to the question, I mean, might fall short a little bit, especially if you are only focusing on, the financial or the personal gain side. You're really putting yourself as the hero, the egoistic hero, who is coming to save the day, for example, or you don't show how this is touching people's lives and impacting, that there's a social return to it, in general. And so you want to start building that narrative that this is what you believe in, this is what drives you, and there's compelling evidence as to why you should be the one to do it, and why it's important for this problem to be solved. And so if we jump a little bit forward again to look at the question that says, why are you applying for the ABH prize? Here is where you connecting who you are as a founder, the problem you're trying to solve, and really trying to convey to the judge that you understand what Africa Business Heroes stands for. And if you look at some of the content online on the website, for example, some of it on YouTube, as well as some of Jack Ma's words personally, they, at the end of the day, what is important is to tell the story of these, of you being the African entrepreneurs, which is a story that's not being heard loud enough in the global scene in general. And so what is the narrative that you want to tell about Africa to the world? And I think this, being as authentic as possible, will come clear as you write and think about it, and essentially showing the compelling reason that resonates with your core as to why you're doing this. So that might be related to a personal experience with some of your customers. It might be a personal experience that you had where you didn't get the kind of medical service that you wanted, for example, or maybe with a family member that was injured or actually passed away or is suffering from this exact problem. And then that will connect to what then does the Africa Business Heroes competition stand for? As being a sense of innovativeness in how you're solving this personal issue, or is it the impact that you're causing? And then you want to bring in the kind of numbers that are reflected in this problem. And so if you focus on things that are outside the value of the Africa Business Heroes competition, things like not solving a big problem or not being consistent with what you said your personal values are, that will diminish how the judges are looking at your application. And then if we leave that section around the founder profile and start looking at what the business profile at a high level is looking like, this is where you really, for the judge, backing up and giving an idea of where this business is operating, how robust your operations are currently are, as well as where the majority of your employees are based, your staff or equipment, or your assets. Are they in Africa? And what do those customers look like, and how are they distributed across the continent, or even just in your region or your community, just to get a sense of who the business is serving and how it's serving them, those people. And then lastly, around your full-time staff, trying to get an understanding of really what's the operational overheads that you're running, or and these are the permanent employees. And once again, in Africa, if you're building a business and you're growing that business, it being impactful is great. And usually, as entrepreneurs in Africa, this is what we are trying to solve, are problems that are going to improve people's well-being. But in the process of you just building your business, you are creating opportunities, feeding families, and developing, contributing to the development of your economy. And so what kind of staff complement are you having that's part of that narrative? And once again, I think where you can bring in some of your values, some of the numbers that you've already cited, you can do this here, but as a judge, the judge will also be looking, does these demographics match up with some of the problems and values that have been indicated in the founders section, for example, and then the application goes into a deep dive. That's expanding on the demographics narrative and trying to understand a little bit more in detail the evidence and the validation, as well as the traction behind some of the things that you may have already mentioned. So if we are talking about the challenge and the problem that you are tackling, what kind of validation have you done, and what kind of numbers are there that show this problem is urgent? It might be, it might be even a regulatory problem whereby, whereby the space that you're operating in doesn't allow some of your customers to do certain things. And your business goes around that or finds a loophole and services and unlocks, a great market. Or it might be a challenge that is continuing to get worse. It's a problem that's getting worse, and that pace, that trend over time, you want to bring that in as an example, and then connecting that to why you started your business to solve this problem. And showing what your company's value add is uniquely. So once the problem is compelling and understood, how does your business solve this problem? And what's the kind of traction that shows that your customers are buying into this problem and your solution? And also uniquely, are there any insights that only you have around this problem? And I mean, you want to share as much as you can that will show your uniqueness, but you won't necessarily be wanting to share IP or patented content, but you want to give an idea of that there is a secret source that really comes into your solution here. Or there's insights that you thought you had about your customers initially, and that's completely changed as you ran your solution and started serving your customer. And now you're trying to serve it a little bit differently, and the problem is has actually changed. So those kind of insights are fantastic on telling that journey, right? That story of how you started the business, what you're doing now, and essentially where it's going. And to try and keep bringing that narrative in, because the human mind thinks, that's a map. A story is a map for them. We've evolved to tell each other stories around the campfire for millions of years. And if you can make sure that you've got that golden thread running through everything, that really helps the judge get it. And so if we then looking once again on these problems and solutions, some of the strong examples of what a strong answer will be showing inefficiency in the market. It's going to be showing scale, or you'll be something that you'll be demonstrating in the value chain, that there's a failure in the value chain, and you've seen this play out, and this is the kind of impact that it has on the businesses or within that value chain, and there's a clear and concise pain point that you're articulating. But if you are not clear on things like the specific needs that your customer is facing, what is the context that they face this in? Are there other solutions, or what are they currently doing that's not working? And even how much is it costing them? So there's a emotional cost, maybe there's a social cost to the to your government or to the economy, and then there's an actual cost to your customer. If you don't have either of these or any of these, then that's going to diminish your ability to bring across a very strong application. And a very important one as well is then around your market, the size, the dynamics of the market. Is it growing? How fast is it growing? How important is it? Is it a life or death? Is it a life or death problem that you're solving? Is it an impact of changing a generation? Something like education for girls or code for girls. That has generational impacts of completely changing the lineage of that young girl to get that solution. So you really want to map out the importance, the size, and the metrics, particularly in financial terms around your market. And I mean, basic calculations around how your unit economics, you have assumptions around your unit economics on how you're growing the business or how you are acquiring new customers, and showing that your traction is actually profitable. So you can even start connecting it to that sense of the market is huge. I have ways of capturing this market. This is the insights that we've gotten in our pathways in capturing that market. And this is how it's currently costing us, for example, kind of specific numbers you can bring in. And this is the traction that we've had in capturing this market. But if your assumptions around your market size are flawed, or it seems that the data you're providing, is uncredible, if the judge has, wide discrepancies on their understanding of the industry, and that's also, another thing is that the judge may not be sitting in your industry. So also not providing enough data doesn't allow them to build that credibility and be able to understand the compellingness of the market and the problem. So the more of this that you can bring in for the judge, clearly and concisely, briefly, that is, the more important it is. And an example is around, and there's multiple ways to be doing your market size, but this is more of a top-down approach. There are also bottom-up approaches, or really just benchmarking against competitors, or at least similar companies in similar regions. But this example, if you are able to trace down your total addressable market into a serviceable, available market, and exactly the kind of market you are going for immediately or servicing now, that then brings in that narrative once again, which shows the potential of the business, but also shows that there is clarity around your pathways to accessing that market, and there's practicality around how you plan on scaling that. In this, for example, here you might be a food business, and you want to understand, what kind of total addressable market is there for the market of food. That's a $200 billion market, for example, and this is global. But really, your serviceable market is going to exclude things like alcohol, drinks, producers of other drinks, and things that you don't plan to be serving. Maybe those might be snacks as well. And then you might also be contracting it within your region and saying, really, at this point, I'm looking at the African continent or sub-Saharan African, or my region in East Africa. And that you then start seeing as, this is my serviceable, available market, in general. And then you bring that down to an obtainable market for you in the short to mid-term, which is then really looking at, there is competition in this industry. And if you were to realistically attain the serviceable available market, what percentage of that could you attain? And then is that percentage, a big enough opportunity for you to go for, which is what you want to say, is that, you really solving a problem here that you believe is a big enough opportunity to go for. If you're going bottom up, you might then be starting at what are you currently selling your products at, how many people are you currently servicing, and the different streams that you're doing that. And then that will give your serviceable, obtainable market, especially if you start then putting on, a multiplier of projections for your growth. So you might be servicing 1,000 customers right now within your region, but you believe that in the next 3 years you'll be doubling that. So you've got a 3-year serviceable, obtainable market of 2,000 customers. But the point really on this is that the clarity and the systematic approach to how you got to your numbers should come across in your application. And then this links as well to the competition that you're working in. Once again, as you're breaking down your market, you know that you are working against your competitors in the industry, or even just solutions that your customer's doing, but it's not necessarily a direct competitor, but it's just what the customer's currently doing to overcome this problem. And that's a benchmark that you want to show that you drastically improving it. And I mean, I think drastic is going 10x, 20x, a fraction, or a 10x multiplier of how much better you're doing. That's sort of the target, and you want to be able to validate that and show that there's evidence behind why why you're saving your customers 90% on usual transactions, and what that then means for them. And that then becomes your unique selling point. That becomes your unique value proposition that you are bringing into this competition section. So really reference an aspect of your business model that shows that no one else is doing this, but still you appreciate and you show your appreciation of what is available in the market, which is really a heuristic for the judge to trust that you deeply understand your industry. But there is an essence about your business model that is unique, and you are bringing that across. If the description doesn't really highlight, these specific elements, and rather highlights opportunistic aspects of the solution, or things that you are still to do, or things that you aren't evidenced in industry knowledge or research, then it's gonna fail to show a competitive advantage for your business. And then there's a section around your business model, which is really the judge is trying to understand how you're making your income, how you're making your money. Subscription, is it subscription based? Is it recurring? Is it once off? Where are the margins sitting? Where are you saving? Where are you creating value in your value chain? And entrepreneurs tend to have multiple revenue streams that you want to bring in here, and you're doing a lot of things, which is great because you're hustling as an entrepreneur, but also you're continuously looking for the next business model that's going to be your growth point, and so on. But the successful applicants here will able to simplify how they are earning their income in a way that connected back to your values. So if the way you're earning income starts to diverge to why you started the business, who you are serving, and the problem, then that's going to start making your answer look weaker. And so you could break down, for example, even just categorizing your income into B2B and B2C, and then isolating the one that connects to your values. And if both of them are important, then you want to show those kind of numbers, how you're making it, how things are priced, why you got to that price point, and what kind of cost is it for you to acquire a customer, and is it profitable at that price point. So just around your business model, your revenue model, things there to think about and to articulate clearly and simply so that the map that the judge has and that you've already started in chapter 1 and chapter 2 is able to continue smoothly. And then you want to also start looking at the human resource gaps that you have. So around people, around talent, what are the limitations for you to get to solve your problem and win the day and paint a picture of success. So really here is once again connecting what the problem is, connecting what the picture of success is like, and in the context of human resources and talent, what would be the critical skills that would change your business model? Or what are the gaps that you need in order to reduce cost, to automate certain areas, or to leverage partnerships? Leverage partnerships, leverage affiliates, for example. These can be some of the things that maybe you need a technology stack or technology team to start automating things, or maybe you need a stakeholder / agent management team to put in processes and manage your ability to work with agents that aren't your employees, but are your scaling and your scalability and your scaling route to market. So if you aren't able to show why these skills are important, once again, how they connect to the success point and why you're solving this problem, or you are referencing skills that show that, these, if you want 500 AI architects, for example, or AI engineers, this is going to say to the judge that this might be an unrealistic requirement of, how do you build those skills and get those skills in this industry? Or maybe you are looking for, maybe your revenue model is not supporting a certain skill base, and maybe you're looking for country managers, for example, that you need as key skills because you want to expand. But does your revenue base and your business model link up with that? And then the application continues around the deep dive, looking at the impact and the societal change that your business is bringing, and really here is trying to make it personal. I think this is one of the things that previous applicants may have brought across. So bringing in the rapport and the empathy from your experience or your customer's experience and making it real, and then showing how that scales out to based on your number of customers that you're serving, and based on the nature of your business model. Is it consistent as well? So are those numbers consistent with the market opportunity that you're looking at? Is the impact and the way you are changing lives consistent to why you started the business? And what are the areas of the business that are actually, mostly contributing to the impact? And this might be, and I think, here you want to be honest, really, it might be the things that aren't making you money, but there's something else that's making you money. And there's a connection somewhere there that you're trying to work on to bring in, but really the impact is coming from you doing this. But you want to bring in that connection as to why the business model matters in this space for you to continue doing this. And of course, the clearer and closer that connection is from how you earn money, for example, something like subsidizing costs for biodegradable sanitary pads because you're selling them into higher markets is a connection, but it's not as a high of a connection as that you are actually working with unemployed women in the community in order to produce these biodegradable pads, and then you've got and then you've got a unique way of how you're actually making them, such that the cost point and the way you work with your community allows you to sell them, those that are making them are selling them in the community. So that's then a closer direct point around the way you're making money and the impact that you're trying to make. And are there indirect aspects of your story? Once again, Africa Business Heroes is telling the African story and being inspiring, being bold, and the scale at which you are impacting people. Are there indirect impacts into the community, into the sense of self, well-being, and the dignity of your customers because of them buying from you? And these are things that you can bring across and connect to your values, connect to the values of ABH in such a way that's going to build empathy with the judge. And really coming to the last slide here around the core narrative is that you've painted the problem, you've painted where you are, some of the gaps, and you've validated. You've provided concise, credible numbers and specificity around your market, your problem, how the business, the secret sauce in the business. And then you want to project into the future where you want to take this and how and what your dreams are. And I think the aspect of dreaming is a core value around Africa Business Heroes. Is if you were to win the program, how would this change your business? How would this improve your ability to scale, show that the business is going to grow? But if there's a weak link between the success in the program and your understanding of what the program offers and can have impact in the business, then that's going to dampen your application there. So really go into how you're going to use the funds, why it's so important to get this kind of exposure and mentorship, and what your dream is, and paint that picture quite loud. And once again, I think that then brings us to the end of this section of our application form, and I want to confirm if we can go into Q&As, or we should rather go into or we can rather go into the speaker who had a technical issue earlier. But I really want to wish you all the best going forward, and remember, deadline is 7th of June, which is not far away. And thank you very much from my side. Over to you, Tarisira.
Thanks, Buntu. Thank you so much for that in-depth and step-by-step run through of the application form. I hope that gives everybody more insights into how to approach the application form and approach the application process. I think in this moment now, I would like to introduce our final speaker, who is Anthony Nathan. He is the co-founder of Timara, and he is a serial entrepreneur with global experience in commercializing innovations and is enthused with the personal purpose of bringing innovations to life. Anthony is here to share with us the science and methodology of becoming a market must-have. And so he's going to explain to us how do we make our businesses more different from the rest and ensure our success without making the fundamental flaws of creating a big solution for a big market. So I'll hand over to Anthony to give us the tools that will help us go from being a nice to have to a must have. Thank you.
Bear with me for a second. I just need to get this right. 1 second. Just give me a moment, guys. Right, can you see my screen, Tarasiro?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. One moment. Okay, 1 second. Sorry, I am experiencing an issue here. I'm very close to figuring it out. Just give me a second.
Sorry, guys, just while Anthony is figuring out, please feel free to take the next 5 minutes to just to stretch, grab a cup of coffee or some water, and then we can start again, let's say at 20 past, if need be.
Just a couple of minutes and I'll be with you, 100%.
So yes, please feel free, just the next 5 minutes, just to stretch, take a break, grab some water, and if you would like to ask any questions, please raise your hand, and then myself and Buntu will do our best to answer your questions, or you can post them in the chat.
Sure, wonderful. So for those that are still around, please do feel free to drop any questions in the chat, or you can raise your hand if you have questions. I see some of them have been addressed in the chat in terms of things like clarifying 3 years. So 3 years, I think that one I mentioned a little bit, that it is that your business has started earning revenue before June 2018. 7th June 2018. So if you can show that in your financial statements or in your financial model, then that's what 3 years will mean. Also, if you do have Lokman, you are recognized. I'll come to you now. I see your hand is up. Also, if you do have other questions, you can ask them or post them at Africa Business Heroes at innovationsummit.co.za. We'll also share that into the chat for you to get a sense if you have other questions after this that you'd like some assistance on. Lokman, before I continue with the rest of the questions here, I'm going to ask you to please unmute yourself and tell us your question. Welcome as well.
Hello.
Just an introduction, please, where you're from and
sure.
your question.
Hi, my name is Lokman. I'm originally from Togo. That's where I have my business, but I'm currently calling from Abu Dhabi, the UAE. That's where I live. However, I go back in Togo where my business is. First of all, I wanted to thank you for the opportunity for walking us through the application. Thank you so much. I have 2 questions. The first one is, how do you properly describe the unique problem you're solving when you have an Uber-like business model where, let's say, one user is the drivers, so you're creating an opportunity for them, and the other user is actually the passengers. So how do you properly describe this sort of a unique solution, especially when you have to do this under 100 words? That's my first question. And my second one is more of a feedback. I'm an unlucky participant of last year, so I'm resilient. I'm coming back this year. Hopefully, I will have a spot within the top 10 finalists. But last year, I've got a really good feedback from one judge, but the second judge did not give me feedback. So I was wondering whether they even read the application. So would you please make sure that the judges also take their time, because their feedback is also helpful to us, whether it's positive or negative, but we can take what they give us as a feedback and build on that. So last year, I got one feedback, which was very positive, but the second one didn't even say anything. Thank you very much.
like I'm unmuted. Apologies there. So I was saying thanks, Lokman, for your question and your comment. I'll take a jab at them and then answer just one more, and then we can go back to Anthony as I see that it's about time now and everything's sorted. And I'm hoping some of you guys are coming back as well if you were stretching your legs. But in terms of the Uber of, the Airbnb of business, it is naturally a challenge, and understandable why it's a challenge, because you are to an extent solving two problems and you are having two solutions, one for each problem, and you're being the connector there. And whereas if you are telling a story around your customer, where they're from, why you're doing this, and what success looks like for them, and after you help your customer, it's difficult to then have this juncture point somewhere, and you're essentially bringing in another customer. So what I've seen some pitches that really resonate with this, or that I've resonated with to understand if they're doing this kind of model, is upfront, to bring in inferences, like saying being an Airbnb of, that kind of reference helps the judge, helps anyone listening to understand that, because that's the kind of a model that we have in our minds already. So if you use that as a frame, that we are sort of the Airbnb of education, access to education in Kenya, for example, or in Togo, then we already start to think, okay, there's two customers here, and there's probably two solutions. But where you're really trying to come in is, how do you create arbitrage between these two in a way that's profitable? So it helps to frame it, but I would then suggest that you, and I mean, this is then something that you'll iterate with your team and bash around with your mentor, but which one is then the more, which of those two, if you want to simplify it, is the more compelling and impactful solution? Which is the one that's connected to your business model, and which is the one that's connected to a bigger market opportunity? And of course it will be difficult because they overlap, but I think that's some of the things that you can start looking at to prioritize which customer's story you want to bring across, because and which customer story is going to be most inspiring. I think, for example, in the case of Airbnb, the primary, there's a host, and then there's the vacation, and I would say that the primary user there is the host. This is sort of the story that is related to the customer acquisition. It's related to the market size. It's related to the problem that people are having a difficult time finding affordable places to stay, and also doing it efficiently. Whereas on the host side, yes, there's a value proposition there as well, but it's really linked to financial gain as well. And that's an important story to tell, because they also like to connect with their customers. But if we're talking about which one is really the one that creates rapport, then I'd lead with with the customer and the traveler, and then bring in the host sort of as a secondary story, but painting that framework of being an Airbnb of helps then to make it easier to understand. And on your second point, much noted. Thank you very much for the feedback. We'll note it here as the team, so that we make sure that at least you do get feedback this time. Thanks. So I'm going to hand over then back to Tarisira. I think we'll go back to the other speaker to continue. Thanks. And take questions later.
Thanks, Buntu. I see there's more questions being posted in the chat. Please continue to do so. We will respond to your questions then, and if you have time at the end of this, after Anthony's session, then we will also respond to those. I will now hand over to Anthony. I think everything is now sorted. I think we are winning technology-wise.
Yep, please share allow me to share, please. Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry for the inconvenience, but we figured it out. Okay, guys, good afternoon, everybody. Great to be with you. I am very excited for all of you entrepreneurs online today. This section of the workshop today seeks to arm you with a practical appreciation for what it takes to build and articulate an attractive startup investment story from a market perspective. A story that can win ABH's support and build a great business venture beyond that. So when do you become a market must-have, or in startup parlance, reach what we call product market fit? It's a magical moment that every startup has as its #1 priority. You can always feel when you've got product market fit or you're a market must-have when it's happened. Customers are buying as fast as you can imagine. You're adding capacity and servers just as fast as they are buying your product. Money's coming into your bank account. You're hiring staff left, right, and center, and you're starting to win Entrepreneur of the Year award from organizations around you. Even investors are staking out your home. You've become an attractive investment story. Those, however, sitting on a nice to have, which is a level lower than a market must have, will never experience this. So guys, let's begin to dissect the market, the makeup of a market must-have. Remember, you're not compelled to address each of the 4 levels of must-have, as you'll notice in the examples that I'm going to share with you now. But the more levels you do meet, the more compound effect on market adoption and your business model defensiveness. First, there's what we call a high-level must-have. Here, your customer relates profoundly to your vision and your purpose. The functional must-have level describes the functions that relate to the use of your product. Then at a relationship level, here customers identify deeply with you and value the relationship. And finally, the parity must-have level. This distinguishes you from your competitors in a way that customers are able to differentiate between your must-have and others. Okay, so let's use some examples that we may or may not know, each one addressing at their own level of must-have. So we know Nike at a high level serves to honor top athletes and top performance with a resolute purpose and vision many of us can relate to and do. Dropbox, the original cloud-based storage and sharing app, these guys nailed the functionality level of a must-have and dominated the space for many years. Restock Me, one of our startups, they reward loyal consumption and customers love their personal connection to the brand. And Salesforce, with their now famous no software positioning, put them in a whole new category which squarely distinguished them from all the others. The customer must-have was never needing to buy software again. With the goal of creating this type of success through becoming a market must-have, hopefully now positioned clearly in your sights, the route to success, however, is invariably beset with major obstacles. Any one of them could destroy your aspirations of becoming an attractive investment story. These major investments include a lack of focus on the market, and I'll explain more with an example shortly, a less than perfect fit or product market fit, an underwhelming offer of value to your market or your customers, and an unimpressive sales results and traction. Let's explore each of these individually with examples. So the first of the obstacles is a lack of market focus, a big one to overcome. This obstacle presents itself through our natural tendency to throw the net as wide as possible in order to catch something and anything. This destroys focus, which is critical to becoming a market must-have for a very specific target market. We only overcome this obstacle and tick the must-have box when you address a single common must-have. The key to a common must-have is don't be a jack of all trades, master of none. Master one, maybe two for your customers. It must be a must-have that your customers appreciate, because any competitor needs to master that must-have to come anywhere close to you. I'm going to give you an example of a narrowing of market focus to give you an idea of how powerful this is and how it can be overcome as an obstacle. Is everybody, probably, hopefully everybody's familiar with lay-by or layaway payment mechanism. It's an alternative to cash or credit transactions or purchasing of goods. This startup initially struggled, addressed a massive market of individuals that are struggling to make payments, massive market, certainly in South Africa and across Africa, but the focus was just too wide. We needed to narrow the focus to only those clients, customers, who had an event coming soon in the future for which they actually didn't need the goods until they were fully paid for. So for example, getting married soon. I only need the contents of my new home the day after the marriage and the wedding, and obviously when marriage begins and the new home requires all the goods. Or baby coming soon, you only needed the pram in 9 months' time. So the whole idea was to rather focus and to become a must-have. Now, the component of the must-have, interestingly enough, was if we've got a window of time in which to make the payment, the idea, the must-have piece of focus was the allowing a client, because in that window of time, life does happen, things do happen, and occasionally we need to perhaps cancel or stop that transaction because your circumstances have changed. The must-have component and offer from the company, the startup soon, was to offer no penalties at all when the customer occasionally cancelled. And so we addressed a must-have for a narrow focused market, and again, excellent results there. The second obstacle, again, our natural tendency, and we're all guilty, almost all of us guilty as charged. We often make the mistake thinking that product fit is about promoting features and benefits, push the features and benefits all the time. However, if we can't enable the customer's must-have, then these features just don't matter. The must-have box is ticked and the obstacle thus overcome when we reliably enable the customer must-have with those features that ease the acceleration of adoption and sustain the use of your new product. Let me give an example. It involves a nutritional shake called Mr. Magoo, a product that needed to fit a very specific must-have for parents of young children. As we know, getting healthy stuff down their throats every day is a challenge, even if you use bribery. Originally, the founders of the startup thought, well, all we need to do is provide a good enough taste for kids to love, and we're A for away. They did the test, kids loved the taste, and they went to market and completely failed. Why was that? Major obstacle. They did not get the product fit right. Let me explain. We got involved to overcome this obstacle, and we found we needed another feature that could enable the use of the product in order to comply to the mom's must-have requirement, which was to get the child to drink the nutritional shake every day and for a sustained period. Currently, it failed to do that because after about 2 days, the kid was oversaturated and like drinking Fanta, 2 glasses later, you're done. So it didn't matter all the features that it had, which were nappy codes that you could claim from medical aid. There was an extended shelf life that it could last forever. There were great flavors that had all the nutrients in, but yet it lacked the enabling feature that would enable the product to overcome this obstacle. So what did we do? We went back to reformulating the formulation in a way that substantially reduces the saturation, and kids were now able to use the product day in and day out for months at a time. And the results we saw were incredible. The attention span, the performance at school and at sport, interpersonal interactions were better. And as crazy as it sounds, even handwriting improved, but it was to overcome this obstacle. You had to find the single enabling feature that could get the market to adopt and to sustain the use of their new product, which is what happened. Okay, obstacle number 3, making promises. It's the bane of every startup entrepreneur's life and existence. Promises, promises. It's a natural tendency, and the more we promise and don't deliver, it actually reduces the value and actually destroys value in the mind and the perception of our clients. The must-have box is ticked when we back ourselves, when we give a guarantee against the must-have value. We call it a value guarantee that counts. A great example here is Restock Me's must-have guarantee for their market. People buying essential groceries, and it relates specifically to the reliability of that offering.
Man.
Sorry.
Customers want their essential grocery items at a great price, yes, but they want them available. Don't tell me it's not available when you're offering me these great pricing. I must have reliability, they say. Thanks for the great pricing, and yes, your delivery is free, and I can even pay after the delivery, all radical features. But if you're out of stock on an item, once you've whet my appetite, then I've got to get in my car, I've got to find those promo prices somewhere, and you've inconvenienced me. So the must-have component to overcome this obstacle was to guarantee reliability. And so Restock Me's offer to the market has been around, if any item is not on promo price and it's not available, in other words, any one item in your month's order, your box, your order for that month arrives without being there, your entire order for that month is free. The rest of the items are free, no questions asked. And in that way, we were able to overcome this obstacle by guaranteeing guaranteeing value in a way that serves this must-have, and again, the word of mouth and the traction here has been incredibly good. And so we were able to, I hope I've been able to explain to you how to overcome, an example at least, of how to overcome obstacle 3, which is on increasing the perception of value around the offer we give. And then finally, sales traction. Faking it until we make it, making sure your investors look at that stuff and not the real stuff. It doesn't fool sophisticated investors. The obstacle we must overcome is fake traction. Our obsession with likes and hits and pilots, leads and one-off sales. We're looking for real, repeat, quality sales here. The must-have box is ticked when we pass what we call the growth hacker test. where month-on-month growth is tested to be at a predetermined desired level, and test results conclude that over 40% of your repeat customers would be absolutely devastated if you weren't around or you cease to exist tomorrow. If customers aren't impressed, we have failed to deliver value, and it's back to the drawing board. And even if you pass the test, you have to keep checking and not be complacent. The Growth Hacker test tests for product market fit. And it asks us to let 100 customers, random customers, do the voting. It's objective and it cuts the bullshit completely. In the real world example we've used, Restock Me earned a whopping just over 72% rave reviews, way in excess of the minimum hurdle rate of the 40%. And at this point, we've overcome all 4 obstacles, including consistent quality sales, and we're ready for growth, capital, and scaling. So you've nailed your market, your focused market with a common must-have. Your product is a perfect fit because you've enabled that must-have. You've made sure that the must-have value is virtually guaranteed, and traction is real because customers have voted for you. Granted, startups do stumble upon product market fit. Serendipity certainly plays a role in becoming a market must-have, but today it's been codified. We're able to teach it, and it's scientifically enabled with consistent outcomes. Guys, market must-haves multiply returns for investors. It's difficult to make a return with anything less. And that's my message to you today and the bottom line. Welcome to the new science of assessing to see if you've got the DNA and that you have what it takes, that you can potentially reach product market fit at the beginning of your journey, and a reliable process, a methodology to co-create market must-haves with you thereafter. So to end, guys, a question to all the entrepreneurs in the room. Do professional investors back the horse or the jockey? I'll give you a moment. Well, it's very important to back the jockey, and they will always say that. And certainly they are praying that you're sitting on an extremely innovative, attractive horse. But let's be frank, the best investors put their money on the market, on market must-haves, and this secures investment. The key to the kingdom is, you guessed it, being a market must-have. Thank you, Bantu. I'm available for some questions if there are any. Thank you.
Hi, here I am. Thank you so much, Anthony. I hope for myself and the attendees that we know what to look for when we are ticking the boxes to become a market must-have. Thank you so much, Anthony. I will hand over to Buntu. I'll ask Buntu to show his face again. If there are any questions from the audience, please raise your hand. Please feel free if you have any questions for Anthony, or if you have questions for Buntu in regards to the Africa Business Heroes competition, the application process, anything else about the videos, any of the information that's required, please feel free to raise your hands, or you can post it in the chat if you're a little shy. Any questions? Are we all happy?
One of the common questions, Teresiro, is that we are available and we will support the guys and have a look to see, do an assessment early stage on the potential for becoming a market must-have. And yes, as I say, we will be available to them.
Just quickly. Sorry. I think I'll just ask quickly, Buntu, if you could clarify. I think this has come up a few times. Was the 3 years of operation? One of the questions is it 3 years operating or since an official incorporation? If you can kindly provide some clarity in regards to that.
Sure, thanks. So the requirement is 3 years revenue, meaning that you've started revenue and now it's starting to get robust since June 2018. That's one of the eligibility criteria. You'll see there's a checkbox that asks you specifically that. So I think speak to your accountant and ensure that there is, if you are close to that, you know, to ensure that there is a way to honestly and authentically show that, you know, that's what you that you started before then.
Great, thanks, Buntu, for the clarification. Interesting question here. What are the key strategies to use to win over the judges?
Fantastic thought. I hope that some of the areas in the presentation could cover this, but I want to build on some of the things that Anthony has mentioned. You know, around being a must-have. So the validity, the compellingness, and showing the concise and narrowed approach in your story is very important. You know, the judges really are going through many of the applications which have already been automatically screened based on the eligibility. And so you want to make it simple for them and you want to make it undeniable, you know, try and make it click. And I think a way of winning over, which is a little bit of a softer term, is really connecting with the Africa Business Heroes values. So check out what Jack Ma says about the competition, watch previous competitors. You know, there's videos on YouTube, on the website as well, around the top 10 pitches in the previous years and what the judges actually ask them. So that's a great insight into what does the competition stand for. And if those come through across, you'll be winning hearts. Of course, also being a must-have business, but yeah, you'll be winning hearts.
Great, thanks, Buntu. Another question here is there a minimum revenue requirement for companies applying to the ABH competition?
Wonderful. So there isn't a minimum requirement as long as it had started before the time. What is important is that it's showing robust growth. So building on again on Anthony's thoughts there is, you know, are you able to connect that growth to repeatable clients? And also at what rate is it growing and scaling at the point where you are now? You know, it should be true traction that you are showing as well. And so as long as that growth is robust and that the amount of revenue is now sizable, but there isn't necessarily a minimum.
And I suppose building on that as well is what is a sizable traction that would count or hold weight in the competition itself?
Thanks for the question. So, I mean, that's relative and comparable. I would actually like to ask Anthony to come in there to really give us from his perspective, because I think you captured it fantastically, Anthony, in terms of from an investor's perspective, when do they become excited around the revenue and how it's growing?
I can give you from our experience, we sit between incubators and accelerators. In other words, we're a virtual factory that generates the market. And we start off with a product, an MVP, and we go towards product market fit. Now that moment is where VCs take over. We've proved product market fit. A VC now takes over for scaling, or funding comes in for growth and for scaling. And there we aim at product market fit being a value of $10 to $15 million. Now, the business has to be performing at a level that supports that valuation. So for every business, it could be different. If you're a digital scalable business, that valuation might be a multiple of top line. If you're a more physical business, then your profitability for the year has to relate to that valuation. So again, horses for courses, but once you've reached product market fit, you can look to, be valued because product market fit is the holy grail. That's the moment of truth where money should come in. You've proved the market. The team has proved that it can execute. And, you can look around to benchmarks on valuation, but again, it's around your actual performance now. So I hope that answers somewhat your question.
Thanks, Anthony. I resonate with that a lot. I think you will have to then look at your financial model and how that, from a valuation perspective, can take you to around $10 to $50 million. I think that's also a reasonable range looking at some of the previous winners that we've had.
I'm pleased.
Perfect. Thanks, Buntu. Thanks, Anthony. At this stage, we don't have any more questions from the audience. So maybe Buntu, just as a final wrap up, give us a quick overview of the criteria, what ABH is looking for, and then where can our entrepreneurs apply, and if they require more information, who can they contact?
Thanks a lot, Tarisiru. Thank you as well to everyone, and really wishing you the best. Just to recap, in terms of eligibility here, is that when you are going in, make sure you've got, first thing you need to make sure is that you've got the time, and that you are eligible within the next 44 days in order to put in a really powerful and compelling application. And some of the things that you want to make sure that you think about is regarding your revenue, is that you've started your revenue before June 2018, and that you have as well, operating mainly in Africa. So most of your operations, most of your clients are located in Africa, and that you are a citizen of an African country. If your parent or grandparent is also a citizen of African citizenship, that can also meet you can meet the requirements there. And then the revenue aspect is actually, you'll see as well that you should have started earning revenue earlier, say, than June 2018, but also you should have been registered before then. So if you were operating somewhat unofficially, that might also disqualify your business. And exactly where, if it was June or not, I think this is a discussion you have with your accountant. From our side or ABH's side, really the requirement is that you can at least show that it's been more than 3 years. And so those are sort of, the high level eligibility requirements there. And if you have any, require more clarity, you can go online. There's an FAQs website. It's also in the chat that you can take a look at. And also there's a WhatsApp line that I've just shared in the chat with you as well that you can look at, or you can email us at Africa Business Heroes at innovationsummit.co.za. I'm going to ask my colleagues if you can just share that WhatsApp line again. I think that's sometimes most effective. If you're having a problem with uploading something or screenshot a technical issue, you can take a quick picture. But that's where you can find us for more help. Stay on social media as well. We will be sharing Anthony's contact details and their social media to follow some of the insights that they're doing. And if there's any support that the work that they're doing can help you to position yourself for this program. And also now social media will share that in an email after this. And so hopefully there you'll be able to contact us if you have any questions and problems as well. And from my side, thank you very much and all the best. We will be hosting another application workshop in May, so you can keep a lookout for that as well in your emails, as well as on social media if you've progressed a little bit more and you want to chat again about your application. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Buntu. And just as a final and very big and special thank you to Anthony, Ethel, and Buntu for sharing your time with us and expertise and providing us more information about the application process, about product market fit. How do we take ourselves from being a nice to have to being a must have, and giving us more insights about the Africa Business Heroes competition. And to you, our business heroes, thank you so much for all that you do for us, for our communities, for the continent. Thank you for joining us, and I hope this workshop was insightful and helpful to you. We hope to see you in the next one in May, so please keep a lookout for that on our social media at Innovation Summit. And if you to apply, please visit africabusinessheroes.org. For more information, you can WhatsApp us or you can email us at africasbusinessheroes@innovationsummit.co.za. And as you embark on this journey with Africa Business Heroes competition, all the very best. And on behalf of ABH and the SA Innovation Summit, thank you all so much for tuning in. Until next time, goodbye.